Today is the second video in our SwiftUI App series. Today we're going to be learning about moving rows in your app and editing and deleting them. Let's get started, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Okay, first thing we need to do is set up some functions. So inside your class list view, add an add function. And what I want it to do is append a new class using some variables I set up earlier, name and color. And then you can just set assignments to an empty list. That's for add. But if I want it to move smoothly, I can embed it in a width animation, which when I add things will make it smooth with an animation. Okay, now let's do delete. Delete will take an app index set and we'll also add a width animation and say classes.remove app. Okay. Now we can do the move function, which is taken from as an index set and to as an integer. And with animation, we will say classes.move from to. Okay, now that we have these functions, we can set it up so that when you move things, they'll delete and move. Adding is a little bit more complex. So we'll say on move, perform move. And on delete, perform delete. Okay, we can now test this out in our code. Something you'll notice is that when I turn on live preview, I can swipe delete automatically, but I can swipe to delete, but I can't just drag and drop the rows. I need to do a special thing on iOS to allow it to be able to move. I'll create a Toolbar Modifier, well, I'll add it, onto our list. And there I'll put an H stack because we'll be adding something there later. But for now I'll just say if OS, iOS, make sure to end your if, and then here I'll say edit button. It'll put a new button on screen if the user's using iOS. Okay, now we'll work on adding. Next to it, I want there to be an image, system name, plus for add. Let's set the color to blue. And let's add a sheet. A sheet is when you press it, we can make it toggle the isPresented variable, which in this case will be adding, which I created earlier, and we can add some content. I want there to be a form so the users can put in things, and a singular text field with class name. And then we'll set the text modifier to name. And then I also want there to be a color picker, which should be the class color, and the selection should conform to $color. Dollar in front of an @state variable will make it a binding variable. And then we'll add an hstack with the spacer and a button. And make its action self.add. And its content should be the text saying submit the foreground color of .blue. And after that, we can add another spacer. This will center it. Okay, now that our code is updated, we can try it in live preview. Clicking the plus button doesn't do anything. This is because we need to add an on-tap gesture so that when you tap the button, we can set adding to true. But how will it turn off? Well, to turn it off, you can swipe down, or I can make it automatically happen by setting adding to false after the add function is done. This is pretty cool. But if you notice in your live previews, on the edit button, you can edit things like this, and it brings up a custom view. But here, when I type in a class name and color and hit submit, the classes don't update. Now we'll work on making classes update when I make changes to them. We need a store for this. So in your data file, create a class called store, like I have done here. Create a published variable using @published to make an array of whatever data type you're using. In my case, a class. And then an initializer, which takes in an array of classes, which should automatically be set to nothing, and set this class's variable to those classes. I created a test store for test data. And then in the assignment tracker app, create an @state object, private var store should equal your store. And then you can do .environment object store. This will allow your store to travel through your entire app. But here, we should go ahead and add an observed object there. Store should conform to a store. And then in the previews and other areas where this is used, I'm going to put in the store should be my test store. I have to pass this in content view too. Okay, now we can draw stuff directly from the store. So I'm going to switch this to store.classes instead of normal classes. And I will need to do the same thing in my functions. Now let's try it. We'll resume our previews, and now we should be able to add a custom row. I'll go into live preview mode, click the plus button, and I can add a new thing. Let's put in social studies and add a green color. And now we have our new social studies class, which has no assignments. You can do the same thing for the assignments page in the toolbar so people can add assignments. Now we have a working app which you can now edit and move rows around. This is amazing. Remember, in our next video, we will be adopting our app for macOS. See you next time, and don't forget to subscribe.